Are you mad?
It is. I'm not mad. I actually kind of like it. I'm not really into it, but it's fun for me to watch you and the boys be into it.
Way to go, Maryland, over Colorado State. Colorado State busted a late game 3. Looked like they were going to win it. And then, they let Maryland take, 4 steps with no dribbling. I'm glad that dribbling the basketball is no longer necessary.
That's weird that no one said anything about it.
The old NBA 3.5.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yep.
During March Madness, are there games every day of the week?
No.
Okay.
No. But a lot of
There's
games.
a lot of games.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm here for it.
And fishing coming up. Are we going to be totally transparent about what's going on right now?
Let's be totally transparent.
So we wanted to talk a little bit about Lucky in Love. We had a great workshop at Justin Coffee Co. Is that what we're going to go with?
Yes.
Remember we had a little debate about what it's called?
Yeah.
But that was so fun. And our topic was not love and lattes this time. It was Lucky in Love.
Yes.
And what we discovered was love has nothing to do with luck. And luck has absolutely nothing to do with love. I feel very lucky that I met you and that you're still hanging in there with me, but we have choices, right?
We do. We make a choice every single day.
And we believe that God brought us together, but still we have free will and we have choices. And even though he did the setup, it's up to us to stick with it, right?
Yes.
And so that's a choice. It is a decision. It is an action. It's the noun, not the verb. I mean, the verb, not the noun.
Yes.
Yeah, that.
That.
It's the decision that we make every day. So Lucky in Love was good, but we were not so lucky over the weekend.
No.
Let's talk about that, and then we'll jump back into our little workshop.
Kept our sweet grandbabies, and they ended up 2 of the 3 had some kind of a little stomach. That was a stomach.
Yeah, a tummy bug.
Tummy bug, stomach bug. And so this afternoon, you and I kind of started feeling a little bit iffy.
Yeah,
iffy, but we're hanging in,
and I am hanging in. So I'm hoping that
we're going to go to bed early
overnight,
and we're going to heal and rest.
I have a date with Lake Fork in the morning.
Yes,
and it's been years since probably 15 years since I've been to Fork, and I've been looking forward to it. Carson and I doing some fishing with some really good friends, and I hope that doesn't get bugged out. Yeah. Good night.
We're going to go to bed early and rest up and feel great.
So Lucky in Love. Yeah. I love when people say, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. Right?
Yes. We hear that for sure on The Bachelor, Bachelorette.
Yeah. You're my person.
And probably now, that's just a common phrase.
Yeah. There's no such thing as your person. You make your person. You make a decision to love your person even when you don't feel like it. People say we confuse lust for love. I think we confuse infatuation with love. It's the novelty. But what happens when the novelty wears off, when the shine's off the penny? We have to make the decision to love. And so when people now say, I love you, but I'm not in love with you, I'm like, good. That's now you're
we're talking.
Now we're talking. You're now doing what you need to do. You're going to love intentionally and on purpose, and you're going to choose to do that even when you don't feel like you're in love.
Yes.
And if you fall in love, well, what happens when you fall out of love, right? I think one of the big takeaways that looked like connected with everybody was that whole once the novelty does wear off, you just feel like you're with this old hat, right? It's just, man, I know you, right? And maybe I'm tired of you. Maybe I'm annoyed by you. Instead of being with this person that you treasure and that is a gift, and seeing them not as some annoyance or pain in your butt, but somebody who's been given to you as a gift. And that oneness. But the word that was, I remember one lady at the end said, man, that was a really cool concept. She said, just being curious, staying curious about your partner, not thinking that you know them like the back of your hand. And after 20 years, 25 years, even after, 5 years, 2 years, you think you know your partner. And we made the point, the girl that I married, 36 years ago is not the girl that I'm married to today, even though it is you. The girl that I married hadn't, had kids. She hadn't lost a child. She hadn't started her own business. She, hadn't, she actually married, a finance guy, right?
Yeah. Who turned
into a healing place director, a pastor, and turned into now a marriage guy.
Yeah.
It's so we're evolving. Life is happening. We're changing. And so we are moving targets when we are deciding to love that person. Who are you? And what are your life goals? What are your life visions? Yeah. And do I know those things? When's the last time we've really shared about our dreams for our life, for our kids, for our home, for our business, for our future?
Yeah. I love when you say, some of us just think that we know who we're marrying. I can't remember. I should have it memorized by now, but we just think we do. But give it a while and they'll change. And the trick or the key or the magic is figuring out who the heck you're married to after all these years. After the different morphings and changes and iterations. We've changed so much. We were kids. I mean, we can't and we don't want to be those same people. You're 22 or 23 or whatever. Like, no, we're both almost 60. You are closer than I am.
Approaching each other with just that curious, who are you? What do you like? We play the little game, what's your spouse's favorite genre of music? What's their favorite food? Who's their best friend? What are their greatest fears? What's on their travel bucket list? We should know those things, but many times we think, oh, well, we know those, right? But have we updated that knowledge? Because I want to say that person most likely has changed because life has done a number on them.
Yeah.
And by the way, that quote, I heard it in Tim Keller's The Meaning of Marriage, and he quoted the book called Resident Aliens by Stanley Harwas, Harw something, AUS or something like that. I think I had to do the phonetic pronunciation for when I talk about it in weddings. Stanley Harwas. But it's called Resident Aliens. You should check it out. And The Meaning of Marriage. That's a really cool one by Tim Keller.
Yeah.
It's a really good one. Yeah.
Sometimes when you let your mind wander, you think, wow, what if we knew everything that was ahead of us when we were those, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed little 22 and 23-year-old kids, just signing up for marriage, going, we didn't do well on our premarital test. We pretty much failed it. If there was a thing as pass fail.
There's not,
but there's really not. But we had a lot of areas of growth, I will say. Yeah. And I remember when our counselor told us that, we were like, oh, thanks, but we don't need your help. Like, you don't know us. You don't know.
Bless him.
We're
he doesn't
so
know
in love.
We're soulmates. She's my person.
So if we could have known back then everything that was ahead of us, gosh, I'm so glad it didn't work that way. I'm so glad that you really do go headlong into this saying, I'm going to choose to love you every single day. And you don't know the hard spots that are coming. You don't know those rough roads, but, as you continue to just show up and love and struggle and learn and grow and, it really can get better and better and better.
Yeah. We talked about the difference between a contract and a covenant and, marriage. We're going to be, it's this covenant between us and God. And we're basically saying, I know you're trouble and so am I. That's why we've made a big deal about this and we're not going to quit. But in a contract, it's all about your rights and you're maximizing your rights and, minimizing any responsibilities. And with a covenant, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
And a contract's this legal agreement and the covenant is this spiritual, very relational thing. Yeah. And so many couples, we've talked about this, man, a lot of young couples, A, they're not getting married, B, they're getting married a lot later if they do. And a lot of them are talking about prenups, right? because it's just this business transaction. And I mean, God bless them. They've seen, things don't work out, and they've seen people get burned, right? But already they've got this mentality that divorce is something, because of the divorce rate, that can just happen to you. And so it's like a disease you can catch, right? Or a bug you can catch. Instead of, like Jimmy Evans talks about when he talks about his 4 foundational laws, he said, if you keep these laws, priority, pursuit, partnership, and purity, you have a 100% chance of success in your marriage. So it's just remembering again that we have choices.
Yeah.
You don't have to fear this thing. And yes, there is another spouse involved. I get it.
Yeah.
But when 2 spouses are seeing themselves in a covenant, not a contract,
Yeah.
and they're willing to do the work and they're willing to own their stuff,
Yes.
the marriage is that accountability mirror. It's that crucible of saying, man, this is gonna be hard because you're gonna have to die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, can I just say, I'll go back to what you just said, how it really takes 2 spouses that are willing to learn and grow and do the hard work. My heart really does go out to just so many people that we know, who's, they couldn't pull all the weight. They desperately wanted to save their marriage. They would have done anything to show up at workshops and
would.
to, And I mean, they still, will. They still will meet with us just for relationship coaching and personal coaching, which is really cool. But it's really hard when you know someone who they weren't ready to throw in the towel. They wanted to do what it took, but the other one didn't. And that's heartbreaking, But, we just pray that, a beautiful future is ahead of them, and they may not see what's ahead, after this heartbreaking, divorce or breakup.
So this sacrificial element that we talked about, that when you're not in a contract but in a covenant, it's learning to die to yourself. And we talk about that, and we've talked about it on this podcast. It sounds great when we say, we're going to die to ourselves. Well, daily take up your cross and follow me, Jesus says. Where are you going when you take up your cross? You're going to die. And it sounds great, but man, it's hard. And it's just tough to do. And we were talking last night, we're all selfish. I mean, some way more selfish than others. And I know, living with a very selfless person like you, it's been, it's kind of a daily conviction. But we talked about when you come to marriage, most of us, bless our hearts, we come by that selfishness kind of honestly, because we grow up, it's about us. Everything's about us. My school, my music, my sports, my girlfriend, my fiance, my wife. And so we come into marriage, and we talked about the 3 stages. The first is, I love you for how you make me feel. So it's all about us.
Yeah.
And then I love you for what you do for me. And hopefully we can graduate from this selfish to the selfless. Number 3 is, I love you for who you are. And so then the question is, and I talked about how Chandler, I didn't love her for what she, how she made me feel or for what she did for me, right?
Right, when she was a newborn.
When she was a newborn, yeah. All right, that was the first time, and that's, thanks for bringing that up. It was, or clarifying, it was the first time I ever really loved someone outside of myself, just like that. I mean, there was you, right?
Yeah.
But it was just, even then, right? I think that was still kind of wrapped up in how you made me feel, right? And so anyway, it was just so good to be able to get to, I love you for who you are. Well, then the question is, who are you? Who is your spouse? Do you know them? Do you care to know them? Do you want to know them, or do you want to know your image of them? And do you want to make them in that image that you have, those perceptions that you had early on? What if they turn out to not be that person? Because marriage being the enormous thing means we are not the same after we have entered it. So Stanley Harwas says the problem is learning to love the stranger to whom you find yourself married. So are we going to do that, or are we going to try to turn that stranger into ourselves?
That's good.
Yeah.
I was just telling somebody earlier, the tagline kind of on our business card, long haul marriage. Marriage can be the ride of a life, or the adventure of of a lifetime. And it is. And you think about adventures, what makes them in the moment, it may feel like, oh, all the kids are screaming and crying and saying, are we there yet? And someone is car sick, or, you have a flat tire, or have to stop in some little town and go to some repair shop, or something things are not always going to work out perfectly. And so when you look at marriage as an adventure, there are going to be ups and downs, highs and lows, and it's a mixed bag. And so it's really taking all of it, for it to be an adventure like that. The very word about that is it's not just smooth sailing, there's going to be some things that you're going to have to work through, and so I'm thankful, and we'll go here. I loved our time this morning for our vision meeting that we had, and as we sat there and talked about our vision for the week and some of the things that we need to get done, and we both just said, we need to pause on that for just a minute. And we just kind of started to go there and be really vulnerable about, where we are and how we're feeling, not really about us, but just about life. Life is hard, it can kick you in the gut, and, it can, in the middle of a really beautiful day, you're like, man, I'm feeling something today. I'm feeling down, or I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling afraid, or and being able to voice that with your spouse, not have to hold that in, that was a really sacred moment today, and just kind of, I think, sent our day on a different, I love
we set aside and we do that, what's our vision for the week? And instead of vision, I felt like it was just this frenetic kind of to-do list, and for home and for business and for personal, and it just became this thing, and we were both feeling. And when I just opened up, and then you opened up, and then we just said, man, let's pray. And that prayer, that changed everything.
Yeah.
And so, hey to God, shout out to just being able to go back to just crying out to God and just saying, I trust you, and we need you. We need you to help us. We need you to guide us, show us. We don't want to be doing this and just floundering. And so just the peace that came after that, and the reframing of that. Hey, I wanted to too. I just thought let's read. I want to read 1 Corinthians 13, the part of that I always quote in the weddings, because we were saying, luck has nothing to do with love, and because it's when you hear the action, and like I said, the verb, not the noun. Listen to the action in these words. 1 Corinthians 13, love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts. Love always hopes. Love always perseveres. Love never fails. And when you look at what how you express yourself to your spouse, how you express love to your spouse in those ways, you just think of it that way. Are you kind? Are you patient? Do you boast? Are you proud? Do you dishonor them? Are you self-seeking? Are you easily angered? And do you keep record of wrongs? I mean, you could just, when you look at that and think, and I loved when we asked the men and the women, and we started with, I think, the women, and said, I feel loved when you. And the things that they listed,
yes.
We made a list of 10 things where the women were just saying, man, I feel loved when he does this. And they got very specific. And then the men, I feel respected when she does this, or loved when she does this. And then when we read through the list, and it was really, really cool. I said, is there luck in any of those things? It had nothing to do with luck. Obviously, it was no. And then the question is, how often do you do those things on that board? And so then we tasked each couple with, hey, write down the top 3 things that you appreciate about your spouse and them showing. And what was cool is around the room, there was generally no surprises on that list. They knew that those were things that made you feel, loved and made me feel respected. And most of them said, even though they knew it, they felt a little convicted that they could do at least one or 2 of the things better.
Yeah.
And more often.
And they just said, we were like, so why is it that we know these things? Why don't we do these things? And so, we just kind of talked through that. Like we're tired, we're irritable, we're resentful or bitter towards our spouse.
Hurt.
We're lazy. We're just,
there's so many things that can block.
Yeah. And so I was going to read just a few. I took a picture of our list on our whiteboard. So some of the things that the women mentioned, I feel loved when you do the dishes, when you compliment me, when you open the door for me, when you put coffee on the nightstand or make the coffee the night before so it's ready, when you say to me, I love life with you. When you help handling situations, like hard situations that come into our lives, when he's like, what do we need to do? How can I help you? And then we ask the guys, how would you fill this in? I feel respected when you ask for help. So sometimes we as women just want to act like we're independent, and we're independent, we're strong, we can figure out things mostly on our own, but they feel respected when we ask them for help, when we admit we need help, when we communicate what's wrong. You don't have to read our mind. We communicate. When we ask you to lead in prayer, hey, will you say a prayer over us? This one got lots of stars, when we acknowledge your hard work.
Yes.
You feel respected when we acknowledge your hard work. When we hold your hand in public.
Yeah.
When we say, I trust you.
Yeah.
So anyway, those were just some simple, but I think super profound things that, they shared as an example last night of ways that we feel loved and respected.
That'd be a good little spot to back the podcast up and to listen to that again. And if you're a man, listen to the women saying how that really made them feel loved when, and then vice versa. And just jot it down and then try some of that on this week. We just talked about how so many people, they know what to do. They just don't do it. I mean, that's just, we're busy, we're tired, or we, the kids, Netflix, our phones. We talked about the huge distraction of the phone and how we really, really have to put that down. We talked about the importance of going out and spending 5-10 minutes, just totally, again, no phone, uninterrupted, looking the spouse in the eye, and how a little can go a long way.
Yes.
A little can go a long way. But we were just saying, most of the most of the couples who came, they said it's so easy. Once we break it down and we talk, it's like, wow, this stuff is not that hard. And it's so good. They said, when we are reminded at a deal like this. And so again, listen to the podcast, read the books, come to the marriage conference, go to a retreat. But the fact is, always have this stuff, whatever it is, have it in the forefront of your mind, because when you don't, it starts to slip.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be one of the first things to go, even though it's, one of the most important things that you can pour your time and energy into is, and one thing I think we get backwards is, especially when we start having kids, it's super easy, like the oily, what? Squeaky. Sorry. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. And the squeaky wheels are generally our kids, because they're just, crying out for whatever they need. And so at a very early point after having kids, we start pouring everything, all of our time and energy into the kids and all of their activities and all that they need. And we really lose that connection with our spouse, you know? Mm-hmm. So I think to remember your relationship with your spouse should even come before your relationship with the kids. You are mom and dad. You are husband and wife before you are mom and dad. Yeah. And so I think, we get all that twisted, and no wonder why, kids all start getting to the age where they, fly the coop, they leave the nest, and the parents are like, who are you? And I don't feel like what you said earlier, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. You're like, right. Okay. So it's really important to shore up that relationship, to keep it strong, not just, the kids are getting bigger, we better hurry and fix things. Like, do some repairs along the way, to keep that love alive, to keep the spark alive. And it's much easier than we think. Mm-hmm. We think, we start making excuses because we just kind of don't want to pour time or energy into it. But you think, well, we don't have money. If we had money, we could go on some big trip. You know what? Go to your backyard. Yeah. Or, we don't have a lot of time. If you only knew our work schedule, right. Do you have 10 minutes where you've scrolled on your phone today? Uh-huh. Use that 10 minutes to look your spouse in the eye.
It was cool hearing from a couple of the couples that came to the first workshop and what they had implemented between the two. Mm-hmm. And they came back, and that was really, it's like, hey, y'all came back. That's so cool. Mm-hmm. But it was because they actually had some practical tools. Mm-hmm. And that's really what I was trying to highlight. It's doing the things.
Yes.
It's the kid that I'm talking to who, I say kid, he's, 23, 24, but like every single week when we get back on a call, he has already read the last book recommendation. Mm-hmm. He's halfway through the next one, mm-hmm. and he listened to that podcast episode, cool. And he went and researched the doctor about the neuroplasticity and how to mm-hmm. beat anxiety. It's just so cool when they literally are going, I'm in, man. When the student's ready, the teacher appears. Just do the thing. Mm-hmm. So again, it just takes I say, none of us are that disciplined. You just have to be disciplined long enough to start a good habit. Mm-hmm. And some of these things, you just, okay, yeah, all right. I've heard them talk about that, and okay, yeah, we're supposed to do that, or yeah, mm-hmm. that would be nice. But then we're creatures of habit. So then the night rolls around, and we just, right, we have dinner, we go sit and plop down, we get on our phone, turn on Netflix. Mm-hmm. And that's so easy to do. So I'm just encouraging people, take mm-hmm. one thing that you heard and go try it. Like literally go practice that thing mm-hmm. until it becomes a habit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Along with what you were just saying, the guy, I love the couple that we have been meeting with, premarital couple, and he shared, like, we're really, it was maybe our third or fourth time to meet with them, and we just asked how they were doing, and he said, man, we're really doing good. He said, all I can really attribute it to is because we've been meeting with you guys weekly. This is on the forefront. We are on the forefront of our minds. Mm-hmm. And so some of the things that we've talked about, we are implementing and putting into practice. And he said, for example, this week, he said, it just hit me. We weren't really doing anything. It was an evening, and it hit me. You know what? She loves to dance, and we're going to dance at the wedding. So what would happen if I just went over and turned on some music and just grabbed her up, and we just started dancing in the den? And they did. And she teared up when he talked about it, and just how much that meant. But, in the moment, you could do a million other things besides mm-hmm. going to turn on the music. And it feels wonky. Yeah. It feels awkward and weird and like, oh, is this stupid or goofy? Uh-huh. But it meant the world to her, enough to where that's the thing that they wanted to share with us. So I think that's so cool when couples hear something and then they start to put it into practice.
And even you just talking about this vision meeting and wanting to take the notes, and I called them flashcards. You were ripping me for that, but you leave the little 3x5 card with the things that I wanted to work on for my personal, for home, and for long haul marriage, and it just keeps me accountable. It literally holds me accountable throughout the week. And the fact that we just keep doing that, I mean, having the vision meeting on Sunday mornings, that is such a huge thing. And it could just easily go by the wayside. It's like, oh yeah, we know we're supposed to pray together, but not pray. But like now that we are praying together and we're having that vision meeting, we're seeing, again, I'm getting to know you in a different way. I feel like our intimacy has grown so much because I'm seeing you as a person. That sounds so goofy. You're not just my wife or the mother of my kids or Mimi, to the grandkids. You're actually Jamie.
Yeah.
And I'm getting to know you in a different way, in a new way.
I love it.
And I got to be real honest, my stomach is not feeling great. I'm swallowing hard. So guys, be praying. And by the time you hear this, it will, it's gonna be too late.
This too shall pass.
Yep, this too shall
literally.
pass. Oh my gosh. So we're going to cut this one right here. How about?
That's good.
We hope that you, take something away from this. Love has nothing to do with luck. Luck has nothing to do with love. And be looking forward to our next workshop. We're looking for one possibly in April. We're going to be doing one in July. And obviously, we'll keep you all posted on social media. Keep tuning in. And thank you to everyone who's tuning in weekly to this podcast. And thank you to all of our donors. We could not do it without you. Man, we love you guys.
Amen. Amen.